Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with Fanvil. Today's host is our very good friend, Tommy Lee. He is Fanvil's Vice President of Sales in North America, and he'll be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, of course, please feel free to submit them in the question box so that Tommy can answer them at the end of today's presentation. Tommy, thank you so much for being with Microcom again today. We're looking forward to what you have to share with us. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you, everybody, for your time, whether it's good morning or good afternoon, depending on your time zone. Welcome aboard. Today, I have a brief presentation to really introduce a solution I think that is pretty much needed by many organizations, hospitality zones, and so on moving forward. We've introduced what we're calling the SMB video conferencing solution. And we took a look back at what a lot of people have put up with. And it seems like when you walk into a video conferencing solutions, and anybody who's attended a video sharing solution is going to end up realizing it's more of a challenge most of the time. And the easiest analogy I can advise is that this SMB video conferencing solution is about as simple as operating a #2 wooden pencil. I mean, it really does the job, does it simply, and it does it very, very well. You know, when you think about a business solution, you have screens that have different types of monitoring in most conference rooms. You got PCs with all different types of connections. You got cabling going back and forth. Well, this thing is really a very simple, what I call a #2 pencil that enables to accomplish all that and really makes it independent of a lot of different things. And in addition to all that, it's priced just right for really targeting an SMB video conferencing solution. So without that said, let me go dig into some more details. To cater to some of the people that may be new on board who may have never heard of Fanvil, I'm just going to set aside 2 or 3 minutes just to kind of give a little quick background on who we are. For those who already know, have been on board, appreciate your patience, but let's get started. Having stated that, Fanvil, we are a manufacturer, and the biggest manufacturing we do is really the endpoints. We build a lot of endpoints pretty much where all the UC technologies touches the human being. So when we're a hardware manufacturer, which is really rare in these industries, is that we actually have really several different organizations throughout China and as well as outside of China as well. So we have, manufacturing facilities globally, in addition to staff such as myself that's located in both North America. We have staff in EMEA as well as many other countries, really to provide that localized support. And when you think about the localized support, one of the differentiators that Fanvil offers is that we also bring localized technical support. So if people want to sort of jump the technology and take a look at it, at our solutions, feel free, because we actually have on-board technology to support you. Besides Fanvil, we also have a sub account called Linkvil. So Linkvil is really a sub title to Fanvil, and what this thing really concentrates on is really a subcategory of products, which I will go ahead and talk about in the future moving forward. A quick background in who Fanvil is. For those who may not have heard of Fanvil, we are not a garage shop. In fact, we've been around for 22+ years as a manufacturer. Very early on in our generation, many of who have been in the UC business for a long time, you probably have touched one of our products, because at the very beginning, we were the original manufacturer for a lot of major endpoints that actually exist out there, but marketed on the other different locations. And then later on, we decided to come out with our Fanvil name. How do we allocate our assets? Well, we've grown quite a bit over the recent generations, and we allocate about 52% on all R&D, and that we've actually allocated lots of resources to both research and development. And that's why we came up and we found gaps in the solution to hopefully provide our partners with the ability to provide solutions throughout the world. Knowing that quality is also number one, what we want to do is actually invest in things like we set aside at least $1.1 million looking in the background on some acoustic laboratories, because we realize when you touch the human beings, we have the eyes, the ears, all that is very, very sensitive, and we're all very quality conscious. So you have to make sure that when you pick up our handset or use any of our solutions, that the quality will come along with our solution as well. When I say endpoints, I mean we develop a lot of endpoints that really touch. And when you divide it into several different columns, we have IP phones, which really cater to both business, retirement type of phones, as well as phones that are catered to hospitality as well. Looking at other product categories, we also develop security solutions such as intercom and broadcasting. Here, we develop indoor and outdoor intercoms that have very different features. Some include video, some don't include video, some 1 button, 2 buttons, even nursing call stations, everything that really touches the human being. And when I say even from the air, we actually have IP speakers as well. And when I say IP, all of these products, the common thread is they're all SIP-based products. So when I say speakers, all of these are based on IP SIP products, and we have both ceiling and wall mount speakers, as well as we're just introducing a horn speaker, which is a whole different other solution that we're bringing to tune. And they could all be cooperated through a console panel, really tying everything together. Besides intercom and broadcasting, we also have access control, because given the heightened sense of security in all of the businesses and schools and everything around, everyone wants to make sure that when you enter a premise that you are an admitted, person that has access to that premise. If not, you want to be able to centrally locate and provide temporary passwords and all these things to allow people in your office. And we have both indoor solutions through our indoor stations, as well as outdoor solutions as well. And we have all different sorts of flavors where they have keypads, several keypads, or a simple 1 button, you name it, we probably have that access to go through that can read cards, provide video, and without video solutions as well. I talked a little bit about hybrid communications, and the hybrid is what I'm focusing today, which is our video conferencing solution targeted for SMB. Later on in the year, we're going to actually introduce something that's going to cater to a much larger conferencing solution. But because SMBs really make up for a majority of the marketplace, this has really taken off quite a bit. But why? It's because it's very simple. I'm going to get into that moving forward. And when you begin deploying our solutions, not only do we work with major PBX manufacturers to allow deploying, but we also have a cloud-based Fanvil cloud management system, which allows you to go ahead and procure and update all of these solutions under one panel. Now, maybe not all, but a lot of the later ones, or above 50% of all of our solutions, are supported by our Fanvil device management system, which is based in the cloud. In addition to these access control systems, I also want to say that we also have a mobile application that's available in both Android as well as iOS Apple products, so that depending on whatever you have, you can go ahead and manage your access control, whether it's to your residence, to your business, and so on, wherever you want to go. With that said, let me go ahead and move on to the SMB conferencing solutions, as I mentioned before. Now, as I mentioned, when I go to end customer challenges, this is something that I face all the time, and because I visit many of our partners, many of them go ahead and run in, and some of these partners have actually gone in and used our solutions. Just why? Because everybody who visits their office ends up having a different connection capability or different wiring capability, applications, and it creates a really complicated situation in doing something very, very simple. And what we mean by that is that what we have is really integrating all the different web platforms. Some webs require you to authenticate, bring your own compatibility issues. Everybody's got a different platform. You have a lot of different wirings, because people that bring laptops have USB-C-A, USB-C, HDMI ports, different forms of HDMI. Well, we get to cover about 99% of all of these platforms under one simple solution moving forward. Let's talk a little bit about screen sharing. As I mentioned earlier, there are many types of screens that people kind of put together. And very often when you have a HDMI or USB-C solution, you have a lot of different types of hardware connectivities. And sometimes when a cable comes down from the actual wall, everybody wants to sit at the end of the U table because that's where the cable is located. we've also addressed that solution as well. So you got to manage these cables moving forward. In addition to that, you also have software solutions because you got to have the software solution that caters to it. Most people who sign on, everybody has got the setup to at least allow their laptop to connect to the internet, and that's all you really need to do. So we took a really structured way of what people set up and really provided a great way for people to share their screen. And the bottom line is, if you could show it on your laptop, then you can go ahead and share your screen as well as the staff behind that SMB room to the rest of the world, depending on who you want to go ahead and do it to. So let's talk about the two units moving forward. Bottom, we have the unit that really sits on the table. And this is one unit really that contains both multiple microphones and conferencing solutions. Now, because I call it an SMB, this is pretty loud enough and also sensitive enough to listen to your voice when you put it at the center of the table. Again, this is not meant for the large extended conferencing tables, but when you have a short conferencing table from like 2, 4, 6 to maybe even 8, depending on how the table is shaped, you can go ahead and provide these solutions together. Coupling with this is the RC10, which is the receiver hub. This basically is a hub that's going to plug to the back of it, and I'm going to actually show you some of the real what I would call the putting together this conferencing solutions for the very simple interfaces that are already provided to you. And once you have this thing set up, it'll actually adapt it for you. Last but not least is the CM70, and this camera itself is more than just a camera. It has automatic panning so that whether you're doing a 1 person, 4 people, or even 6, it will actually go and pan out depending on the solution that you're going ahead and looking for. So really, it's easy to deploy, plug and play. I don't want to use these terms to death because every one of us has heard it, but the easiest way I would describe it is really just using the number 2 wooden pencil. It really enables you to really use this thing as simple as possible so that it serves you and that you're not trying to serve it as well moving forward. Let's talk a little bit about this moving forward and how this is going to actually look like. As I mentioned before, when you put all these 3 pieces together, no longer is the user going to end up having to sit at these end tables and having to have that duct tape going across from the bottom, because it communicates with this microphone wirelessly to the hub, and the hub takes all the complication out, because this screen will put together in a lot of screens that have an HDMI port and will tie all of these pieces together wirelessly. And when you do all that, what you end up having is having this system and moving around this plate to around the people who want to share their screens versus having to move the people to sit at the end of the table every single time. So let's talk about the hub, which is really sort of the heart of everything, and it sits right there. And what I wanted to mention is that the actual hardware of the hub contains a magnet, so you can actually hook that magnet into the back so that it actually stays secure. On the back of it, you really have one really simple solution. You have a solution that advises power on, which is really the center piece here, and that obviously goes onto the table. The next thing you'd have is really the HDMI port, which really connects the HDMI connector from here onto the actual display. Once you have that set up, there is one dedicated port that connects over to the CM7 camera. That is it. You couldn't even mix the ports together because you know why? All 3 of these ports have a unique connection that you can't really mix the 2. And so when you pop all these things together, now you have a wireless hub that provides all the virtual connections onto that hub space and speaker that I mentioned about earlier. Last but not least, we have the MS-10. Why is this MS-10 great? Because all you need to do is once you hook it up, you press that one button and it'll create a wireless connection that's really paired at the factory between this unit as well as all the hub devices. So when you buy this unit as a kit, which by the way is basically the size of a shoebox, and this shoebox is something that you can carry with you, and many meeting rooms found this very, very comfortable, because when a client comes in and either rents a meeting room from them, they could in essence take this thing, set it up in 5 minutes, and then they can now entertain any platform and any particular application that they can do, and will fit in nearly 99% of all the PCs that are out there. And this will go ahead and fit in. Now, I mentioned before, there are many different plugs that will fit in, and I'll go ahead and have a slide that talks about the adaptability of this plug to fit in many different applications moving forward. I talked about this, obviously that plugs in, but the really key thing about here is wireless operation. And really from the end standpoint, you don't need to be at any location in the thing and nor have that cable running across the bottom of the table. So what you really have is a very, very clean environment for those who want to really set up a pristine looking office. You're not going to have really a bird's nest sitting on top of your cable or underneath these cables, and people have to struggle to find out what it is, because this adapter itself comes with all the adapters that you need to fit whatever connection that the PC connects to, so that you have a wireless connection moving forward. This is just a matrix, quite frankly, because not only can the PC change, you also have traditional TVs that are mounted, smart TVs, or even interactive flat panel displays that are Android, smart panels. And the good news is that all of them have an HDMI cable, and that the full compatibility, it really doesn't matter what display you have. This is really made for really compatibility on both the user end as well as the display end moving forward. Now let's talk about how these things go ahead and work together as this is a pair, as a unit. So here you have the 3-watt speaker that really is designed to work with both groups. And most of the people that have conferencing really cater between the 3 to 5 different people in one side of the room, and they can go ahead and communicate with whatever parties they are on the outside, providing really good coverage on that end. You have also 8 array omnidirectional microphones, although we try to hide the technology because that's really, that's not something that the user has. But in this small oval piece, you have microphones that surround this thing, and it's listening to people all around them so that they can go ahead and focus in on all the different microphone parameters that are out there. One press screen sharing, again, I mentioned it was like a number 2 pencil. You just push a button and it will automatically pair up with whatever laptop PCs to whatever camera that fits on the hub device that's based above. Then as well, the piece that ties it all together is the HDMI wireless camera. It will actually communicate between this hub and this speaker wirelessly, and it will actually provide a central location where all of the background cables hook into the television set moving forward. So integrated cable management, we even realized that people really want their meeting rooms to be clean, so we developed a nice cable management so that it defaults to USB-C as you get into this unit moving forward. Universal stand, as I mentioned, behind this as well as the camera is a magnet, so that you can actually mount this on top of the PC, and you can have that magnet serve as an adhesive or a virtual adhesive, giving you the flexibility of moving this from room to room if you want a BYOD type situation, or even enabling a customer of yours to have those as well. Now about the central camera features, this is really a 4K image camera, which really reaches high in clarity. So we're not going less given the baseline response about this, and I'll share that cost at the end, last slide with you. In addition to that, some people may want to home it because you may want to provide a remote control. Believe it or not, most people don't even use it because the default settings actually acquire all of these flexible units already provided right out of the box. Then again, the universal stand is also magnetized, so this provides quick and flexible adhesion to the actual back of the TV where it does. And here's an example, oh, excuse the coughing, that shows that it will automatically home in whether you're sitting on one end of the table or whether you actually have a group of people, that it will automatically pan out and see who's in the room, so that it'll automatically provide optimal viewing coverage depending on what you actually provide to the marketplace. Now let's talk a little about the flexibility of where it connects. The default setting is really a USB-C plug and play. Many of the Windows-based or Apple-based products are all defaulting to USB-C. If you happen to have that, fantastic. This thing will just plug right in, and if you share it on your screen, you can share your screen with almost any particular party outside. Coupled with this, we also have an adapter cable, which really provides HDMI, USB-C and A cables, so that if you happen to have an older PC with some HDMI cables, this is the only one accessory that you can go ahead and provide that this will plug right into, and it provides the same level of connectivity as well. One of the things that's nice about this USB-C-A is that you can unplug this, and it actually provides both capabilities depending what type of cable that you have, that it will actually mark up what type of connections that are available on the PC end. Again, Minimal clutter without any of the confusion. And once you have this thing hooked up, it should go ahead and play without any issues at all. Now let's talk about compatibility. A lot of people really use numerous sets of different types of things. Some people use Teams, Zoom, Google Meet, all the different types of products that are out there, and yet we'll go ahead. This thing, in fact, is product independent. So depending on what platform you use, as long as you could provide a connection to it and show it on your screen, we're not going to have any issues. At least a video conference is there to serve you and not the other way around. And that was something that we go ahead and provided to all the manufacturers of the PC so that we can go ahead and bring whatever platform you're going to use to and from the actual people that you want to communicate with on the other side of the communication platform. That really sums it up from all of the different features. And the great news is that we actually have this available as an NFR demo. NFR, for people who don't realize, is a not for resale. You can go ahead and reach out to Microcom, and we have both, since I'm manager of North America, both USA as well as Canada. For the first unit that you want to just kick around to see whether or not this works for you, you could actually get one here for $275 or MSRP of $459. Think about all three of these systems for less than $500, and many of you are probably scratching your head right now saying, gee, I probably paid close to $1,000 for mine, or maybe even more for really a much more solution. And this is something that you can get for a first, go around for that price. And we also have it in Canadian as well, since I work for all of North America. So I highly suggest you reach out to Julie or anybody else in the Microcom staff and saying, hey, I want an NFR of this unit. We'll be more than happy to make these arrangements. And actually, if this thing ends up working for you, we'll give you a great, reseller or all these type of prices for you so that you can provide this solution to all your partners as well. That's really the last piece that I have before I go into my thank you slide here with all of the different connections. But I want to leave this here and address any particular questions that you might have. So Julie, if there's anybody that raises questions, just let me know.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for that presentation. Yes, I do have some audience questions for you. Let's go ahead and get started with the first one. Here we go. What kind of customization is available in FDMCS for different industries or sectors?
Well, the FDMCS has really been made to really, it is really catered to the IT individual or the consultant or the IT service staff that's really meant to provide updates to remote locations. You could actually provide FDMCS at the customer level if they want to get into that, if they have a local IT staff. If not, the integrators as well as the resellers would be able to use this as a tool, because when you deploy our solutions into, say, a dental office or an attorney's office, they don't necessarily have the staff to reset these things or look at particular traces that you want to take a look at, or even provide firmware updates. All of these things are remotely managed, and this provides a tool for those people that do that. The other flexibility is that for enterprise level products, some of them are really interested in having a local base because they could be banks that want everything in-house. We also have that solution as well, so that you can actually take this, have them host a local service solution, and we could provide the same types of solutions for that. So that's the type of flexibility. If they want something further, have them just give me a call, and we'll be more than happy to kind of cater to their to whatever is really a requirement for them to win the project.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Appreciate that. Let's go on to the next question here. Can you tell us, how do you handle remote firmware updates remotely using FDMCS?
Okay. That's pretty simple. There's really two different ways. One way is that we work with many of the cloud-based as well as on-prem based cloud manufacturers. Most of the large ones are all Fanvil certified on many of our platforms. You could actually go and pick a menu from there and saying, hey, provide the update for them. Many of these manufacturers have what they call a golden version, which they will always type to download. If they don't have that, and you happen to be like on an asterisk solution that really is on your own and don't have these pieces, You could use our cloud-based solution really as a way to select that unit that's actually based in whatever location that you deploy this thing on, select it, and then you could have resources of all the different firmware images. You could have a golden folder or a new beta updated folder and select that, and you can really select the type of units that you want to upgrade moving forward. You could also schedule those things to happen at 2 o'clock in the morning so that when the team walks in the next morning, all the updates have happened and they don't even have to worry about it moving forward. So, that's the type of flexibility that the cloud-based, and believe it or not, we don't charge for this cloud-based at all, this device management system. This is a tool that enables our field partners to be more productive on their end.
Thank you so much for that, Tommy. Appreciate it. Next question here for you. Are there any specific security features that protect voice communication on Fanvil IP phones?
Yes, I mean, Fanvil has standardized on SIP, and SIP by definition alone has security features on their own. I mean, the default a lot of times is I believe it's TLS, where automatically all of these all of these communications is encrypted. Some even go either higher and making sure that they communicate over a privatized VPN system that they go ahead and do. I mean, by definition, all of this is not just open IP. If this was open IP, it wouldn't really have a place in businesses, because businesses go through huge measures to make sure that their data is not compromised in any way, shape, or form, and that really all the top 50 enterprises in the world all have conglomerated and really realized SIP as the secure communication platform to go on. And that's really, SIP is the baseline standard that we have finalized to make sure that they are compatible. For people who don't like those acronyms, I mean, what SIP is, the great analogy I like to use is, when you walk into a hardware store and buy a toaster, the last thing you think about is the type of plugs that you have. It's either 2-prong or 3-prong, right? You could look at that as basically the SIP interface. And if you own a home in the US or in Canada, you basically know, okay, it's going to plug right into the house. And that's the idea of SIP. It really provides a standardized protocol that is secure, that is used really to provide audio communications from point A or to multiple points wherever they decide to go ahead and do.
Thank you so much for that, Tommy. A couple more questions are still here. Next one. Okay, here we go. Is Fanvil planning any new AI-driven features in its upcoming product line?
AI, I think they would have to define what AI actually talks about. Currently, I'm not sure that you could speak into a speaker because we develop, endpoints. These endpoints, by definition, host many PBX manufacturers that do use AI. I'll give you a perfect example. We can work with American Airlines, take for example, that says, book me a ticket, and all of a sudden they can use our endpoint as the interface, but it communicates with our partners that actually centered their interface around AI and use our clear audio to be able to say, yes, book me a flight from Los Angeles to Maine, and for 2 in the afternoon, it'll go out and find bookings that are close to it. So it really is a facilitator. When you think about that, you could almost look at that as a microphone, a really complicated microphone, but it really does facilitate so that people who center their businesses around AI, you can easily use our products to really surround whatever system they have to make sure that it can run off of their voice or whatever commands they decide to issue it.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Last question here.
Sure.
Are your IP phones compatible with hybrid collaboration platforms like Microsoft Teams and Zoom, etc.?
Yeah, in fact, in terms of Teams, I mean, Teams has their own qualified manufacturing. I mean, in fact, we're using this platform, I think, on GoToMeeting as well. But as I talked about in this unit itself, in fact, I'll even go back here, that even this conferencing unit, Teams is something that we outright advertise because it's used so heavily in the marketplace. You know, whether it's Teams, Zoom, Skype, 3CX, WebEx. I mean, I've used all sorts of privatized meeting platforms, and it really doesn't matter. This is meant to really provide a sharing community, and it does, you know, it doesn't really matter. In fact, with Zoom, we actually have some intercom solutions that have been qualified by Zoom themselves because part of their deployment goes into hospitality and education environments, and that sometimes they need a one button press for students or swimmers at a hotel pool to say, hey, there's an emergency going on. So yeah, we do go out and qualify, you know, some of our products on the Zoom platform, plus many other platforms that are out there.
Tommy, thank you so much for answering all those questions for us today. And thank you to everyone joining as well. And if anyone has any further questions, please always remember to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please remember that this webinar presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel so we could all view it again. Tommy, thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate it. And I'm sure the audience does too. So until next time, and there will be a next time, you know, I'll call on you, Tommy. Absolutely. Thank you again for all of your updated information that you shared today. Everybody have a fantastic day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.